Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. So in today's class, we'll learn about chapter 6, that is emotional and social development in infancy and toddlerhood. Uh, we learn from this chapter about how children understand emotions of others, and how they understand emotions or emotional states of themselves, how they emotional understanding leads them towards emotional self-regulation, how they build this self-control over negative emotions, how that is guided, how they develop socially as well. Social understanding comes from their social exposure. We learn about how the social understanding enables them to become more reasonable with their behaviors, how they learn about good and bad, or what is socially acceptable and unacceptable. So we learn about all these factors through our discussion in this chapter. First, we look into the through to a theoretical understanding viewpoint about social development. If you remember, we talked about psychoanalytical perspective and psychosocial stages of development in the first chapter. Erikson, like Freud, also believed in early years experiences. He says that the parent-child interaction and the bond explains how the child would grow into an adult, and how he would see the social world. So he believes that in the first year of life, it is very important for the parents to establish that sense of security within their relationship. If sense of security is developed, established, that means they need to establish trust. Towards to trust in the relationship, which means that the parent has to be extremely responsive, and should provide quality caregiving, where he should be affectionate and loving towards the child. If all of that is not done, a negative outcome of the stage occurs, which means the child would develop mistrust, lack of sense of security towards the caregiver, which would leave the child with this understanding that you cannot trust somebody in a relationship. So a child, the sense of trust, the value of trust would be lost in the relationship, which would further would make it difficult for the individual to grow positively into the next stage. The next stage that he's explained is autonomy versus shame and doubt. This appears in the second year of life. According to Erikson, during this time of life, the child is very much instinctively very much into exploring everything around him. If you have noticed, young children, toddlers, they are all over the place. They are exploring everything out. So they're exploring everything because of their instinctual behavior. So it is very important for the parent to provide such an environment where the child could function, could operate based on his instinct, which means that the child would be everywhere around the place, but the parent should provide supervision and monitoring for the child in order to not harm himself, which doesn't say that you can bound the child in a place and you can tell the child that you cannot move around. That is something a toddler cannot do, because he's driven by his impulse of curiosity, for example. So here the child needs support and guidance from the parent, and that comes from when you trust an adult, you know that if even if you are you're out there, your parent or the supervisor is there to guide you and protect you from any harm or threat in the environment. So in this the need of autonomy is there in the child, need to explore the new gained freedom which they get from, by learning to walk around. When this is not done, the child is left with some self-doubt. When the child is being shunned or is, negatively handled, when the child is being told that you cannot do this, or you shouldn't be going, this is not for you, or whatsoever, in a negative way, when a child is, given feedback, the child is left with sense of self-doubt and shame. So this should be avoided. So then again, all right. So again, to interact with young children, it is very important to understand how they feel and what they need. So in order for the caregivers to establish this bond with the child, they need to understand their emotional states, and they need to understand how and what they do require at a certain given time. So if you have observed young children, infants and toddlers, you must know that there are some inbuilt cues that guide you about their behavior and that guide you about their needs as well. So these are basically those emotional cues that helps the adult caregiver to to understand the needs of their babies and other children as well. So basically, these basic emotions that we can observe in young children are some built-in signals that helps us communicate with them. ठीक है, अगर आप छोटे बच्चों को देखो, they can express themselves, they cannot express themselves through verbalization. They are not good with, at this young time in their lives, they're not able to speak, and they're not able to even understand their own emotions well, but they're able to very well convey what they really need through their bodily gestures, to the non-verbal cues. The adults are able to understand what they actually require and what are they actually feeling. So babies does display these basic emotions of happiness, sadness, fear, interest. These are some emotions which are very apparent in their first year of life. You may see that when they react pleasantly towards stimuli, which means that stimuli is of interest and that is causing them to be happy. When they are fearful of something, fear is again one of the emotions which is very commonly seen in young infants, specifically in situations where they fear a stranger, or when they are with somebody who's unfamiliar. They do show signs of fear. That is called stranger anxiety. So again, these basic emotions guides us about the feelings of young infants. Here's a video for you to watch. Please do watch the video to understand about how children learn about emotions and how they display emotions as well. All right, so understanding or expressing their emotion is one thing, and also how do they understand the emotional states of others? Again, when we socially interact with people, we not just rely on our feelings, but we also rely on what and how others are feeling in a given time. So, for example, when a young infant is interacting with their caregiver, they also do understand that how the caregiver is feeling at a given time. If the caregiver, the trusted caregiver, again the mother or the father, is happy in that certain time, the child would absorb that energy and would display signs of happiness too. If the caregiver is not so comfortable or is showing signs of fear or anxiety, that emotional energy is as well absorbed by the infant, and would also show signs of anxiety and fear. This state of absorbing emotional energy is called emotional contagion. Sometimes children imitate emotional emotional expressions of their familiar caregivers in situations which because they seek out emotional cues from them. Also, there's another process which is called social referencing in situations and conditions where a child is not certain of how to react emotionally to a given stimuli. The child seek out help from a familiar caregiver again to see how to react in a given time. If that is this process of social communication or social information, taking social information from a trusted caregiver is called social referencing. There have been times when a child is confused with a given time, a given situation, and doesn't know how really to react with that thing. For example, when you introduce a new toy to a child, and child really doesn't know if this toy it's a play material, or it's playful, or it's harmful, he would look at his mother or father to see if the mother and father are encouraging the child to move forward or not, or to to stay away from the toy. So sometimes in a situation where the child is confused and doesn't really know how to react, he would seek out information, social and emotional information from the caregiver in order to react in a certain way. Again, I have put down two videos for you to look at. One is for emotional contagion, and the other is for social referencing. These two processes again explains how children understand emotions of others and how they react in a given situation when they do not really know about the social condition or the social stimuli. Again, there are many other emotions that are experienced by the child as they move forward with their lives. They learn to understand through different social encounters and social information of what is likable, what is desirable by the caregivers, and what behaviors are undesirable by the caregivers. Again, through operant conditioning processes where reward and punishment is applied, children learn to understand about social behaviors. They learn to understand about what is good and what is bad. So a lot of new emotions which are again there's a set of emotions which are called secondary emotions that emerges that are experienced. These emotion includes shame, embarrassment, guilt, pride, envy. These emotional experiences helps the child to reflect upon their own behaviors, and these emotions basically makes us more self-aware and self-conscious. For example, a child when do something inappropriate, something which is not likable by the parent, the child is told that you shouldn't have done this, this is wrong, this is bad, you're a good boy, you shouldn't have done that. When a child is being communicated that he hasn't done something nice, or that is not encouraged or is not liked by the parent, the child feels that he has done something wrong. He might experience an emotion of guilt or shame. These emotional experiences basically helps the child to become more self-conscious. That child becomes more self-conscious not to repeat when, for example, and again, in future when he's when he's driven to repeat the same behavior which he had done before, and which he has been objected and disapproved, he might think again and reflect that this is something which is not shouldn't be done, because this can make me feel bad later on, or this is something my parent would not like. So these kind of experiences enables the child to self-reflect on their own actions, and that makes them more self-conscious. So self-conscious emotional experiences also build self-understanding and self-awareness, brings self-awareness. Experience which brings pride. For example, when a child is told that, wow, how you have done this, I was not expecting that you could do this.
So or you have thrown the ball so far. Wow, that's so nice. So that's so good that you're so powerful, you're so strong that you could, finish your meal in so little time, or you're so energetic that you could run so far. Wow, I'm so glad, so happy because of all that. So all these kind of verbalization feedback from the parent makes the child feel good about himself, and he experiences the emotion of pride. So all these achievement related emotions can, again further build self esteem of the child. So the child becomes more self-aware through these self-conscious emotions. And also, again, these self-conscious emotions are experienced through the social understanding of behaviors. Emotional self-regulation is, again, a very important feature of our emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, again, is an ability to understand emotions of self and others. So basically, emotional self-regulation is a way to channelize our negative energies. For example, there are many emotions which makes us uncomfortable, which elevates us, which could put us on stress and anxiety. So in case these emotions are experienced, we all use some strategies to minimize the negative impact of these emotions. For example, when you are angry at someone in class, or when you are angry at your sibling, and you know that your parent is around, and you cannot shout at your brother or sister, or you cannot throw the things, you cannot hit the person. You try to control your anger in a certain way. When you control your anger, basically you are using some strategies to minimize your negative emotions. So emotional self-regulation is a way of channelizing your own emotion. It's an ability to adjust one's own emotional intensity. When you, for example, if you fear darkness, for example, and you are unable to sleep in dark, so what would you do? Every night when you have to go to bed, you cannot just fall asleep because it's too dark in the room. So what would you do? Generally, people who fear dark would put on a light, or would put on some, or put on the TV or music in order to distract themselves. So any emotion which is negative, or which can elevate, or which can cause stress, is managed by all of us in a certain way. Similarly, young children also start to establish their self regulation styles. They start to learn that how to emotionally channelize their emotion, again through social experience and social guidance. For example, when a child is feeling angry, the child is told by the parent or the teacher that when you are angry, you should just you should sit down, or you should count backward, or you should count forward, or you could take a glass of water to help yourself calm down. So the child is being told a way to channelize their emotion. Again, we cannot, these emotions are some inbuilt mechanisms that we inbuilt system that we come with. We cannot say that there would be zero level of anger or zero level of fear. We cannot say that. These emotions are natural emotions which are bound to occur and experience by every one of us, but we all learn some ways of coping up with these emotions. So emotional self-regulation is a personal style of how we minimize, channelize these emotional energies. Again, when we regulate our emotions, this requires some conscious effort and conscious control, and that again comes with some with some practice, and with the development of the growth of cerebral cortex and assistance of caregivers. Again, as the brain grows, the child becomes more, again, prefrontal cortical regional area helps the person plan and make conscious decisions. So when the growth of these areas becomes more refined, this enables the child to build on his effort on controlling his emotions as well. And again, along with the assistance of the caregiver, the child is able to learn the ways of expressing him or herself in a more appropriate way. All right, this is again a very important section to understand about how children become self-aware and how they start to recognize themselves and how their self-esteem or self-concept is developed. Self-development starts to take place during first to second year of life, and again, self-awareness is aided by the capacity of intermodal perception. Intermodal perception basically is a way of using simultaneously more than one sense. It's basically combining one or more senses together and explore the environment. सेल्फ अवेयरनेस का मतलब बेसिकली ये है कि अंडरस्टैंड करना कि आप कि जो आपकी जो फिजिकल आइडेंटिटी है, फिजिकली आप एक यूनिक आप आइडेंटिटी है, एक यूनिक एंटिटी है और आप डिफरेंट हैं दूसरों से. आपकी सेल्फ अवेयरनेस, फिजिकल सेल्फ की अवेयरनेस जो है वो एस्टैब्लिश होती है बर्थ से ही. बच्चे जो हैं जब वो अपनी सेंसरी मोटर एक्शन पैटर्न्स में रेगुलेट करते हैं तो वो अंडरस्टैंड करते हैं कि एक्सटर्नल यानी कि कोई चीज जो उनको कोई ऑब्जेक्ट जो वो पकड़ के मुंह में डालते हैं वो एक डिफरेंट स्टिमुलेशन कॉज करता है और अपनी यानी कि अपने हाथ को मुंह में डालना अपने 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 बॉडी के पार्ट्स को यूज करके अपने हाथ को मुंह में डालना एक डिफरेंट स्टिमुलेशन कॉज करता है. उनकी सेल्फ फिजिकल अंडरस्टैंडिंग जो है वो एस्टैब्लिश होना शुरू होती है as early as they are so young. This starts to establish. Again, intermodal perception जो है वो उनको enable कर, जैसे जैसे वो crawl करना for example शुरू करते हैं और अपनी visual sense को use कर रहे होते हैं, इन सारी चीजों से वो intermodal perception से भी self aware होते हैं कि when they move their head, turn their head towards a certain stimuli, and when they walk towards that, they understand that using these different sensory processes they are able to act on the environment. सेल्फ रिकग्निशन इज अगेन ये सेल्फ डेवलपमेंट का पार्ट है. सेल्फ डेवलपमेंट इज अगेन अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ सेल्फ है कि आप अपने बारे में कैसे समझना शुरू करते हैं. सेल्फ रिकग्निशन बेसिकली अपने आप को अपनी फिजिकल सेल्फ को आइडेंटिफाई करना है. अराउंड अगेन by the time a child is about 18 months and above, he starts to identify himself in the mirror. For example, when you show them their own picture, or when you ask them to see themselves in the mirror and identify that who they see in the mirror, they would report that this above 18 months old children would say that that's them, if they because they are now able to identify their physical selves. This sense of self-recognition also enables them to become more self-conscious. When we say self-conscious, we mean that they are now more able to know and understand the reaction that they can cause on the environment and how they are able to now control their own emotional states. Their self-understanding also enables them to build on this pro-social action, which is empathy, understanding of how others may feel given in a certain situation. So self-awareness की वजह से उनकी empathy भी develop होना शुरू होती है. अगर for example आप उन्हें बताते हैं कि आपको अगर कोई मारे तो आपको दर्द होगा. So if you hit another person, they also would feel the pain the same way as you would. So their understanding of self-awareness and physical self would help them understand about the emotional states of others as well, and that would help them to think more rationally and be more empathetic towards others. Again, self कंट्रोल क्या चीज है? सेल्फ कंट्रोल है कि अपने आप को अपनी अपनी एनर्जीज को, नेगेटिव एनर्जीज को
चैनलाइज करना एक सोशली अप्रोप्रिएट तरीके से, ये चीज बच्चों में डेवलप करना बहुत जरूरी है। हम बहुत बार बच्चों में देखते हैं, या पेरेंट्स बहुत सारी बार ये कंप्लेंट करते हैं, टीचर्स एंड पेरेंट्स both complain that children are unable to control themselves at times, or they misbehave a lot, या उनका misconduct ज़्यादा है as compared to उनका गुड कॉन्डक्ट से। बहुत बार बच्चे जो हैं वो टेम्पर लूज करते हैं, बहुत ओवरली पैम्पर्ड होते हैं, उनको पता नहीं है कि उनको कहाँ पे दे नीड टू ड्रॉ द लाइन। अच्छे और बुरे में उनकी जो लाइन ड्रॉ करने की जो चीज़ है वो उनमें बहुत ज़्यादा मिसिंग होती है। सो सेल्फ कंट्रोल जो है, हमने अभी पीछे बात की कि इमोशनल सेल्फ रेगुलेशन जो है वो बेसिकली एक तरीका है बच्चों में सेल्फ कंट्रोल डेवलप करने का। सेल्फ कंट्रोल किस चीज़ पे डेवलप कर रहे हैं हम? बच्चों की नेगेटिव इमोशंस पे कर रहे हैं। जब आपको गुस्सा आए तो आपको क्या, what are the appropriate ways of controlling your anger? आपको गुस्सा आता है तो आपको ये चीज अंडरस्टैंड करनी है कि गुस्से में आप बहुत सारे तरीकों से दूसरों को हर्ट कर सकते हैं, और हमें हर्ट करना जो है वो एक बहुत नेगेटिव एक्सपीरियंस है। जब हम किसी को हर्ट करते हैं हम गिल्ट एक्सपीरियंस कर सकते हैं, और गिल्ट इटसेल्फ बहुत ज्यादा डिस्ट्रेसिंग होता है। अगर आप लोग भी, हम सब जो है वो इस चीज को एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं, जब कुछ हम गलत करते हैं और बाद में हम उस चीज को जब रिफ्लेक्ट करते हैं और हम कहते हैं कि यार अगर मैं इसको बुरा ना कहता तो अभी आई वुडंट हैव फेल्ट सो बैड, सो आई शुड हैव कंट्रोल्ड माई सेल्फ। सो सेल्फ कंट्रोल एक प्रैक्टिस के थ्रू डेवलप होता है, और हम जितना बच्चों में ये अर्ली ऑन बच्चों में ये चीज डेवलप करेंगे उतना ही उनका जो कॉन्डक्ट है वो अच्छा रहेगा। और ये कैसे डेवलप किया जाता है और ये कैसे डेवलप होने की जरूरत है, हमने इसको डेवलप करने का तरीका यानी वो भी हम डिस्कस करेंगे। बट डेवलप क्यों करना है? क्योंकि हमने बच्चों के अंदर एक प्रो सोशल बिहेवियर को एस्टैब्लिश करना है। प्रो सोशल बिहेवियर हम एस्टैब्लिश क्यों करते हैं? प्रो सोशल बिहेवियर वो सारी चीजें हैं जो कि एक सोसाइटी के अंदर हार्मनी और पीस को मेंटेन करती हैं, डिसिप्लिन को मेंटेन करती हैं। हमें डिसिप्लिन, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, हार्मनी, पीस ये क्यों चाहिए होता है सोसाइटी में? ताकि सोसाइटी जो है वो एक बैलेंस तरीके से काम करे, फेयरनेस और जस्टिस हो एक सोसाइटी के अंदर। तो लोगों के अंदर प्रो सोशल एक्शन होना बहुत जरूरी है, प्रो सोशल बिहेवियर्स होना बहुत जरूरी है। प्रो सोशल बिहेवियर्स कौन सी स्किल यानी कौन से बिहेवियर्स या एट्रीब्यूट्स प्रो सोशल होते हैं? वो सारी चीजें जो दूसरों के साथ आप करने से दूसरों में हार्मनी पैदा हो, पीस पैदा हो। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आप दूसरों को हेल्प करते हैं, ये एक प्रो सोशल एक्शन है। आप दूसरों की तरफ एम्पैथेटिक होते हैं, ये एक प्रो सोशल एक्शन है। आप कंप्लायंट होते हैं, कंप्लायंट एक और बिहेवियर है जिसमें हम लोगों की बातों को समझते हुए उनके साथ अग्री कर रहे होते हैं, रिस्पेक्टफुल होते हैं दूसरों की तरफ, और हम अपने अपने हम सेल्फ ऑब्जॉर्ब नहीं, ऑब्सेस्ड नहीं होते, सेल्फ ऑब्जॉर्ब नहीं होते, हम सेल्फ सेंटर्ड नहीं होते, हम लोगों को के गोल्स को भी इकट्ठे रखते हुए वर्क ऑन कर रहे होते हैं। सो ये सारी चीजें एक सोसाइटी के अंदर बैलेंस क्रिएट करने के लिए बहुत जरूरी है, एक फंक्शनिंग के लिए, एक सोसाइटी की डिसिप्लिन के लिए बहुत जरूरी है। सो हम लोगों को बच्चों में कंप्लायंस और उनके साथ सेल्फ कंट्रोल डेवलप करना जरूरी है, और ये केयर गिवर की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, एक एडल्ट की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि वो बच्चे को गाइड करे कि उसने किस तरह से सेल्फ कंट्रोल, इमोशनल सेल्फ रेगुलेशन को सेल्फ कंट्रोल से सीखना है। We need to be sensitive and supportive towards the child, one thing, because हम सेल्फ कंट्रोल बच्चे को सिखा रहे हैं तो बच्चे को हम सेल्फ कंट्रोल मॉडलिंग के थ्रू भी सिखा सकते हैं। अगर हम बच्चे के सामने एक अच्छी एग्जांपल रखें, अगेन एज वी नो चिल्ड्रन लर्न अ लॉट थ्रू इमिटेशन एंड थ्रू मॉडलिंग। we have discussed this earlier as well. Observational learning उनमें बहुत ज्यादा के थ्रू बहुत ज्यादा वो कुछ लर्न कर रहे होते हैं, तो हमें उनके सामने एक अच्छा मॉडल रखना है। अगेन जब वो बच्चे कुछ कर रहे हो तो हमें उनके साथ नेगेटिव रीइंफोर्समेंट को यूज करना है, ना कि पनिशमेंट को। हमें उनको एडवाइस देना है और उनकी एक्टिविटीज जो कि जिसमें एडजस्टमेंट की जरूरत है उनको रिवाइज करने की जरूरत है। हमें उनको प्रॉम्प्ट फीडबैक देना। अगेन एक बच्चा कुछ गलत करता है और आपने वो नोटिस किया बट आपने उसके ऊपर कोई उनको फीडबैक नहीं दिया, और यू वर काइंड ऑफ यू वर ओके विद इट, and later on after 2 or 3 days you told the child that see you had done something bad or wrong at that day,
the understanding, the phase of the point, the time frame जो था जिसमें बच्चे को हम सिखा सकते थे, actually वो lost हो गया. वो जो emotions को जो हम उस emotion की जो experience था उस बच्चे पे हम जो reflect करवा सकते थे बच्चे को, वो experience actually lose कर देते हैं हम, अगर हम बहुत अगर हम prompt feedback ना दें या हम late feedback दे रहे हो. तो इस चीज को भी again बहुत ज्यादा प्रैक्टिस करने की जरूरत है कि बच्चे को prompt feedback दें और reminders दें कि उनको बार बार उनको remind करें कि गुस्सा आ रहा है, again you need to calm down and you need to control yourself. See, you are, you're getting red, or you know you are talking bad when when you are when you feel that emotion. You need to remind the child that how they react in a certain way when they are under negative emotion. रीइंफोर्स करना है सेल्फ कंट्रोल बिहेवियर को, जो वो प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं उनको आपको रीइंफोर्स करने की जरूरत है. अगेन पॉजिटिव रीइंफोर्समेंट के साथ. एक बच्चा जो है गुस्से में पेशेंटली अगर डील कर अपने गुस्से को और दूसरों पे शाउट नहीं कर रहा है, या वो कंपैरेटिवली अच्छा अच्छा कॉन्डक्ट मेंटेन करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, तो उसको रीइंफोर्स करें, उसको इनकरेज करें, या ना कि उसको फॉर ग्रांटेड लेना शुरू कर दें. अगेन जब ये चीज फॉर ग्रांटेड लेना शुरू की जाती है तो बच्चा जो है उसकी इम्पोर्टेंस शायद लूज कर जाता है. सपोर्ट लैंग्वेज डेवलपमेंट, इंक्रीज रूल्स ग्रेजुअली. अगेन आपको बहुत ज्यादा ओवर एम्बिशियसली बच्चे को, अगेन एक बार गुस्सा हो उसका बहुत एक्सट्रीम पे, आप उसको अगले दिन एक्सपेक्ट करें कि बच्चे का गुस्सा बिल्कुल जीरो हो जाएगा या वो बिल्कुल नेगेटिवली रिएक्ट नहीं करेगा, तो दिस इज नॉट पॉसिबल. यू नीड टू बी मोर what you can say, you need to have more realistic goals when you are guiding the child to build on their self-control. There's a video again for you to watch about the strategies of how we can build on self-control in children. For this video, I'm going to end it over here, and we'll have another video to share more topics regarding the chapter content.